Happy Monday, my no-zone Andes. Welcome to the Kashtira format.
This past weekend was the Photon Hypernova sneak peek, and upcoming this week will be the brand new set, which means a brand new format.
And meta, and no zones for any of us. In case you've been living under a rock and are now playing the game, Kashtira is going to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular deck of the format, and it has a lot going on and it is not easy to play against. So in this video, we're going to talk about the top 5 tech cards that you need to be playing this format. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, and comment what you are going to be teching for Kashtira. Or if you're going to be playing it, what are you reverse teching to stop the techs that we're going to talk about teching you?
And we're talking about that.
I love Tekken.
So before we get into our 5 tech choices, we did want to talk about exactly why these cards are going to be impactful. Obviously, Photon Hypernova, as Logan said, releases the rest of the Kashtira archetype.
Yeah, Cash Buddy, baby.
The remaining support includes the field spell, which is effectively just Rhoda on activation. It's also stat modulation and its removal. It's basically Pillarino for Kashtira.
Did you notice that all the Visas field spells effectively do the same thing? Just kind of different. It's almost like they're clones. Wink.
Kashtira Theosis,
otherwise known as Papayas,
is basically emergency teleport for a Kashtira monster of a different attribute that you already control. Big Bang is an equalizer, but it is also an extender when banished, which has a ton of synergy with the brand new extenders, which is Rise Heart, Tearlament's Kashtira, and Kashtira Scareclaw.
And while all these cards sounded all well and good, the reason that this deck becomes so powerful is not these cards, is the new Xyz monster they got, which is a Rise Heart. Once per turn, you can also Xyz summon Kashtira Rise Heart by using one Kashtira monster you control if an effect of Kashtira Shangri-Ira was successfully activated this turn. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. That's just Macrocosmos. Once per chain, each time a card is banished, attach a banished card to this card as material. That is not once per turn.
It is also mandatory.
Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 3 materials from this card, target a card on the field, and banish it face down.
This card is ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
This card is effectively a zoo monster because you can use one dude to just Xyz over it. This is a walking Macrocosmos. Anytime a card is banished, not face down like the remainder of the archetype, this just attaches something and can detach 3 cards to banish a card on the board.
This card is, I legitimately don't know how this card made it out the door.
Literally.
I don't get it.
Good news is it's only 3k, so it's really easy to out too.
Yeah, and they can just make it with one cash monster. They don't need to actually make the materials and do anything. They just...
And this pairs extremely well with the card out of the last set, which is the Shangri-Ira, which is not once per turn. Anytime something is banished face down, it blocks any zone.
Yikes. Ojama King walked so that this guy could actually sprint.
So now that we've gone through a brief description of why this archetype is absolutely freaking ridiculous, let's get into our top 5 tech cards that we are going to need for the upcoming format. Coming in at number 5 is Nightmare Corruptor Iblee.
Ah, she's back. She seems to swing on into every format one way or another. And boy, oh boy, your girl is here to corrupt.
In case you've been unaware, since 2019 in this card's release, this card says that when it is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon it to your opponent's field. And then it has a floodgate type effect where the controller of the card cannot special summon monsters except for Link monsters. Now, why is this good against the Kashtira archetype? Well, in case you've read a Kashtira card anytime in the last few months, they need 0 bodies on the board to special summon themselves. So having a body on their side of the field doesn't allow them to summon.
Their little in-archetype Pankratops can't really special summon themselves if there's a cute little Iblee there to ruin their day.
Now, the reason this card is at number 5 is because, in all honesty, it's not amazing because they can just switch it to attack, go battle phase, crash it, and then just special summon play main phase 2. You effectively wasted a main phase 1 and a battle phase, but they still get to play the game.
Yeah, and honestly, you don't want to let this deck do that because they just set up anyway, and Macrocosmos banishing everything, attaching you, it's a mess.
It's nuts.
You can't let them do that.
Another reason to talk about this card is because a lot of testing we've been seeing is that the Kashtira archetype is side decking 3 of them in most every list. They do not have a searchable way that we know of, but they do have Pot of Prosperity to try to dig for it. They don't need a normal summon, so they can normal summon it, link it off with the Lingaribo, and then give it to you, so now you're floodgated as well.
Yay.
And then the worst part is, if people are prepared for this, with the Lingaribo, Kashtira just looks at your extra deck and banishes 1 card from your extra anyway, so they can just banish her out.
Yeah, it's super fair.
Once again, though, you can just switch this to attack like they would, enter battle, crash, and then, play the game.
The real point of Iblee, it feels like, and why it's number 5, is it's just to kind of waste some resource. Like, you're just killing a main phase and a battle phase, but it's not actually really doing anything. It's just causing an obstacle.
Yeah, it's a cute floodgate, but it's not it's not a proactive floodgate.
Yeah. Which brings us into our number 4 text, which is kind of a 2-for-1, and that is Dark Hole and Summon Raigeki. Yes, these 2004 cards are back with full vengeance in the meta.
The best part about Kashtira, and actually almost any archetype moving into this next format, is that they don't set up any Omni negates. So board wipes, pretty powerful.
Oh, also worth noting is Dark Hole outs Iblee. So if someone techs against you, you can tech against them, and it's all this silly reverse teching. Yeah, you know.
It's good to note that this is at number 4 because the Kashtira Shangri-Ira does have an effect that protects itself. So you will not be able to clear the monster that's going to be blocking zones, but if you are able to clear the rest of the board, you can at least use your graveyard. You can at least get rid of something like a Fenrir or a Unicorn, all this with one card. So it's effective, you just have to make sure you can out the other cards on the board.
And then moving into number 3 is another 2-for-1, and that is Nibiru the Primal Being and Kurikara the Div Incarnate. Yes, the card we all thought was just a wannabe Nibiru and sucked on release. Kurikara is here, and she actually fulfills a purpose.
As we said, the majority of archetypes do not set up any negates, so being able to tribute an entire cash board after they fully comboed, kinda nice.
Yeah, so really the whole shtick here is Nibiru sucks as a top deck for your 6th card, whereas Kurikara is live because your opponent is definitely going to be activating card effects, and then you can just tribute their board, slap a big old Kurikara on the board, and OTK pretty quickly. So while Nib is still very good going second, this is just better to top deck in like the situation where, you know, you never open it, but you know, maybe you'll top deck it.
Yeah, Kurikara also has the ability to tribute every monster on the board that activated. So in the standby phase, the Shangri-Ira is going to special summon something like a Fenrir. All you have to do is just try to get a card into the graveyard. It'll get banished because of the Arise Heart. Arise Heart mandatory will trigger, and then boom, Kurikara, bye-bye board.
Woo!
See ya.
Yum, yum, yum. Div Incarnate. More like, darn it.
And that leads us to our number 2 pick. If you follow the market, holy lord has this card gone up. And that is Swords of Concealing Light.
Have you read that card in a while?
Woo!
Me neither.
So this card is effectively Book of Moon for the entire board for your opponent. So this is a really good card going second. You can just slap it on the board, book everything, and then because the Shangri-Ira is no longer face up on the board, you get all of your zones back and can play the game for free.
And a wild thing you should know is that when Macrocosmos is taking a nap, he's Napocosmos, and you don't have to worry about everything being banished, baby. You can play the game.
This card is extremely powerful moving into the next format, and it's also very versatile because this is really good against, like, Flu.
To all my Flu players out there, feel free to drop that deck and pick up this one.
Please.
It's totally not expensive, and it's just a better version. Put the penguin down.
The reason this is at number 2 instead of number 1 is because this is a continuous spell card instead of something like a quick play or a normal spell card.
Yeah, it kind of just sits there. It can be cosmic. It can be you just can get rid of it very easily. So like your opponent could be counter-siding for that, assuming you'll put something like this in. I think a big thing to take away from these types of tech videos is that the speed of the card really does go a long way.
Yes.
So while it does seem like this card is extremely powerful, there are cards we're going to be talking about for number 1 that are just more powerful because they are quick plays.
So in case you haven't figured it out, our number 1 pick for this coming format is Book of Eclipse.
Reading is fundamental.
This is just a quick play version of Concealing Light because it will just book the entire board, but this is chainable. This means that you can activate it in something like the draw phase because now the Shangri-Ira isn't going to trigger in the standby phase. You don't have to deal with a Fenrir or a Unicorn, and you have to worry about clearing less dudes.
And while you might be internally panicking because it says your opponent gets to draw cards, you're clearing the entire board by the end phase, so they won't have any monsters flipped face up by the end phase because you're getting rid of them, and they will be drawing 0 cards because hopefully they are not going to be playing the game anymore. And the reason why this is our number 1 slot as opposed to anything else is because anyone can side this in any side deck and it will work the same darn way anyway. You can put this in against Sprite, Flu, Cash, it will do the same thing and it will have the same amount of impact. As long as you can clear the board, this card is bonkers. And in this format, versatility is honestly what is going to make or break your ability to play the game. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, we can't talk about every single tech card and we don't know every tech card, so please let us know in the comments what you are teching because, hey, you never know, you could be helping a homie out here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, got a little bit of information on it, and if there's anything you want us to talk about for the new format, any deck profiles, we do have some coming, don't worry. And we'll be opening our case tonight on stream, so make sure you come check that out. We will be streaming tonight, opening our case of Photon Hypernova. We have some big videos coming out this week, and if you happen to be a YCS Lyon, we will also be there, so please come say hi. We're going worldwide this year, baby, so come say hi to us goofy goobers in France. But with all that being said, team, thank you so much for watching this video. We love you, you matter, and we will pray for you this format by having you watch all these videos over here. Bye, team!
Ciao.